I get a question a lot, Dr. Joe, you've got a coffee product and you're saying it's healthy, but we know coffee has caffeine in it. And isn't caffeine bad? And I've got that question now for over 30 years. I've personally been consuming coffee since 1963 as an ergogenic aid, as a long-distance runner. And the question always comes up about caffeine. Here's what the research says. Caffeine is a miracle molecule. It's one of those incredible alkaloids that occur naturally in certain species like tea and coffee and some other plant species. And its function in the plant is as an insecticide, so that that plant is protected. And when that naturally occurring caffeine gets into the human system, it has protective abilities, and it has the ability, when it comes in contact with other molecular structures, to help those get inside the body. So caffeine becomes an incredible delivery system in and of itself. There are two forms of caffeine, naturally occurring in tea and coffee and some other species, and modern science has now learned how to synthesize caffeine in the laboratory. And that's kind of where the rubber meets the road. When you synthesize that molecule, it still works, and they use it in a lot of pharmaceutical drugs as a delivery system, but it doesn't have all those synergistic other phytochemicals with it to buffer it, to help signal it, and to do those things. So what we're seeing scientifically and in the scientific literature, naturally occurring caffeine in green tea and in coffee has a whole different effect than in synthetic caffeine.
Which we find in all the energy drinks today.
And that's, it's cheap. Again, it's synthesized in the lab, so it's very cheap and inexpensive, and that's why it's used in those products. The downside is it has side effects. Anytime you synthesize a molecule and strip it away from its nutritional context, you now have created something that has some benefit, but there's also a negative. What we've done by utilizing coffee and in our incredible energy drink, we use caffeine naturally extracted with its synergists, so we do not have any of those negative consequences to caffeine. Well, it can. It can stress the adrenal system, produce a lot of cortisol, and now the body goes into a fight or flight sympathetic response, and the brain senses that and says damage is occurring, something is awry, and storage begins to happen. And so people can actually, get fat by, consuming things improperly that way. Out of balance is what we call it in the clinical setting.
Well, not only, we was talking about building up the cortisols and building up all these toxins and having to store it and then diluting it so that your body can maintain itself. What we've tried to do is almost the opposite. Give your body the ability to get rid of the toxins, and get rid of, once the toxins are gone, then your body doesn't need to dilute those toxins and can get rid of the excess water. And then all of a sudden people are finding they're losing weight and they're not even on a diet plan. It's just a natural function of having a healthy body in your balance, and then your body can get back to its correct weight.
And here's an amazing thing. Less than 2 months ago, some research was published on coffee, and of course I read all the research that comes out, and this one fascinated me because it was talking about coffee and coffee consumption as a hydrating agent. And all my life I've been taught that coffee is a diuretic and causes you to lose water. Well, the scientific research now says when you use this green tea or coffee or these naturally occurring caffeines, that they have the ability to drive more water molecules inside the cell and actually rehydrate the system. which is pretty amazing.
You can take water in, but if it doesn't have the ability to get into the cell, it's not hydrating your body. And that's a key a lot of people miss, is they can drink all the water they want to in the world and they're still dehydrated, because it's not a function of what you're taking in, it's a function of what actually gets into the cell itself. And that's the key that we try and provide with our product line, is to get that hydration into the cell itself.
And that's been the key of, the key philosophy of our product development design. Mm-hmm. Let's do everything we can to get all of these synergies together so that it's providing raw materials to the body, so the body has the inherent wisdom through our DNA and through our incredible system to take these raw materials and build and repair and defend and regenerate human tissue. And that's what we've done clinically for 30 years with these botanicals, and now we're sharing these incredible products around the world.